It's January the 7th of 2026. It's the first weekly manga recap of the year, which means it will be like almost every other weekly manga recap of the year. Welcome, friends. I am Nick, and I am here with Quinn.
Ahoy. We have so many manga to talk about. I wish we could riff, do a classic WMR bit, maybe reference some obscure 2010s wrestler. Tyler Rex. What's he up to? All right. Now,
That's actually an interesting, but anyway.
We have no time for that because there's like 7 chapters of Black Clover to get through. So we have to talk about Ichi the Witch. We have to talk about the other fantasy series.
We have to talk about the good fantasy series. Anyway,
whoa.
Oh, what? Sorry, did Nick say something unexpected? I don't think I did.
Yeah, but you can't say it in front of him.
Asta doesn't know. As long as I don't talk about Black Clover while Black Clover is a recent chapter.
Asta thinks he's still the best fantasy action manga in Shonen Jump. And
I don't even know if they are. I don't even think it's actually technically in Shonen Jump. But anyway. So.
It's like an ultra jump. It's something.
Yeah. Ichi the Witch is where we'll begin today with 65th Hunt Libro. We start things off with a flashback to Descarus's childhood, to when her village basically knew from when she was a kid that she was a generational talent with immense amounts of magical power. And of course, Descarus responded to this news by not giving a shit about it and wanting to just go home. And she makes some great expressions in this, as we unfortunately are reminded of Polaris Mountain, where nothing bad has ever happened. And we get a little bit of information about her clan, the Ikaruga clan, the Star Eaters, who worship the night stars by night. They live modest lives. And Descarus doesn't want to hear anything about how great of a potential witch she is, but Libro is a big old nerd about the whole thing. And he is really psyched about it. He's trying to overwhelm her with like, hey, look at all this magical tech stuff that I've got that you can learn from and study this and learn this. And Descarus is like, I don't want to do any it's so stupid. Leave me alone. And Descarus apparently just wants to, and I quote, live outside eating grass with the goats. Which...
not a bad idea.
You got to have dreams. Everybody's got to have something that they want to do. And by that definition, somebody's got to want to eat grass with the goats. There's got to be somebody who does everything, right? Maybe it's a part of raising the goats to have somebody there to eat grass with them.
I can't imagine every hypothetical situation has like an accounted to predestined sort of philosophy for people. Like, you know, no matter what, somebody's like, I want to, suck the poop out of the cow. Like, someone's got to. I want it to be me. Or something obscene like that. Like, I want to shove dirt into my eyeballs. It's the only way I can see.
I want to see a fantasy series or sci-fi series or something like that where they encounter a village of people who decide their lots in life by the first strongly held ambition they ever have. And everyone like has careers of like trying to be professional gum chewers and all this outlandish stuff. There's
a lot of astronaut cowboys in that universe. Not a ton of astronauts. A lot of cowboys, surprisingly, but a ton of astronaut cowboys.
So, Libro brings up to Descarus that she could be the greatest witch ever, and he insists, like, "Hey, look, magic's fun, And he starts to go into a big nerd rant, magic nerd rant, as Deskris calls in and says, like, you're a boy, you can't cast magic, stop being weird. And we see that over time, like, the entire village is just like, you're so great, Deskris. There's people making banners for her even before she wants it. That's how much this girl's fame was predestined. But eventually, the two of them are just, sitting around at home. And Libra says, I wish that I was a girl because then I could become a witch. Don't read into that, anybody. And he's, just like naming little quote unquote fun facts about being witches and stuff. And he's like, oh man, I would be so cool if I were a witch. I'd go on adventures. I'd catch bad magics. I'd make friends with good magics. And then everybody would say that I'm so cool. And then I could make it so that there are fewer lonely orphans like us. And Deskris actually, seriously listens to him for a second, and she says, well, if you want to do that, you should be a doctor because a plague killed our parents, not some terrible magic. But Libro says, hey, look, witches can do things that even doctors can't. And witches do even more than cure diseases. And yeah, I really wish that I could be a witch and help out people that way. But if you became a witch in my place, that'd make me really happy, and I'd be so proud of you. And Deskris, again, is like, I don't want to hear any of that. But when Libra goes to bed, she looks over at him and says, look, I don't want other people telling me how to live. And magic doesn't interest me. But I guess it wouldn't be too bad to give my baby brother what he wants and have him think I'm cool. And so she sets off the next day, goes rushing out to the woods to go and practice magic. And Libro's following after her, and he's excited because he realizes, even though she hasn't said it, that she's finally going to try and practice magic. And she's in denial over it, and he's like, then why do you have a magic textbook? Why do you have a wand? And she's like, the book's a pillow for my nap, and the wand is a back scratcher. Because, children tell the best lies. But Libra says, hey, come on, slow down, wait for me, I want to come with you. And, they just start, acting like, little kids again. And they're arguing while chasing after each other. And then the barrier comes down. And it is right between them. Libro is like 10 feet behind Deskris.
I like that the World Hater magic has like a sense of like dramatic tension. Because he's like, I'm going to separate these two specifically. I'm going to have this shit come down right in the most dramatic moment, right when it needs to be there.
I mean, we don't know too much about the World Hater magic, so maybe he is just that kind of like, I need an audience little shit. So
yeah.
And of course, we get narration to remind us of the day that the chunk of the Polaris Mountain, 3 miles in diameter, was completely warped out of existence by the World Hater magic. This time, we see things from Deskris's perspective, as she doesn't know any magic yet, and the only thing she can think to do is to try and bash through the barrier with the wand. And we see her just giving herself welts and cuts with it because she's trying to cut through it with this little stick that she can't cast magic with yet. And she thinks to herself, in the present, if I had started studying magic sooner, could I have done something? And would I have been able to save my brother instead of watching helplessly as hell swallowed him up? Not a night goes by when I don't think about that. And when the Witches Association showed up and found that she was the only survivor, she immediately demanded to know, where do I have to go to become a witch? And she's been to Libro's grave since then, and she just has been single-minded in her approach to becoming the greatest witch in the world, just so that she can keep her promise to her brother that she made really more to herself than anything all those years ago. And finally, we come out of the flashback, and of course, Libro has been brought back by the reverser magic Hitsugi. And Deskris is like, I buried him. How is it really him? And Hitsugi says, even with my ability to reverse things, I can't fully undo what Lord World Hater has wrought. The power is simply too great. I admit you may be right, and perhaps I am interested in humans and their emotions. The feelings you humans have for each other, and how they can be used to turn great talents into shambling wrecks. How noble really are these emotions that you humans tout? Show me. Can you really kill your brother? Can you really kill your own heart, world's most powerful witch, Descarus? And Descarus just drops her sword and hugs her brother. And that is a heartbreaking face that she makes when she's doing it, too. She looks like messed up, like while she's doing it.
Hammered? Yeah, she might have had a little too much to drink before she came out here.
And Libro turns his head and bites into Descarus's neck, and all the other zombies descend on her as the chapter ends. Well, that sucks.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed Descarus while we had her, but it was probably time for her to go at this point. So, yeah, it's a little bit of a shame.
Yeah, she failed the QTE to not have her heartbreak, so she got eaten by zombies. That's it.
This is just like Men and Medan all over again, or whatever one of those games I played. Until Dawn.
I don't know. You could say anything, and I'd believe it's a video game.
Shucky Ducky Quack Quack. That was a good one.
That's another 2010s wrestling reference, but
I mean, is it Booker T Eternal? Does he really have a decade?
He's been here for eons when you think about it.
I mean, honestly, as long as I've watched wrestling, he's been doing it. Yeah. This was an emotional chapter. I kind of wish it was a little bit longer because I feel like we are meant to, or not meant, we are forced to view Descarus's little brother through the lens of Ichi because that's who we actually have knowledge of. And this one is very much just like, what if her little brother were as likable as it makes this scene emotionally damaging? Which, it's fine. I wish we had a little bit more time to know Libro as a person and not as a plot device to get super murdered by warping in a little bit.
Yeah, we should have spent 5 months in this flashback, and we should have actually introduced, the more of the lore of D stuff.
I really think what this flashback could have done with is if we had taken a detour for a quick minute and talked about rocks for maybe like a month and a half, 2 months, and then
there was just too much information that One Piece couldn't handle it. We have to start outsourcing it to flashbacks and other series in order to make sure we cover all that ground.
What's Odor of the Flame doing with its page time anyway? Who gives a shit? Put it there.
Honestly, if Odor of the Flame in that flashback where we learned about Odor's stool had instead lasted several chapters to talk about Zebek, it would have indeed been an upgrade.
I would have been more on board with what they were doing at that point, certainly, yeah. But this is still a good chapter. Descarus is definitely, it shapes more and more of why she is the way she is, not just in terms of, the emotional heartbreak and why family is so important, but also why she, buys into her own shit as much as she does. Yeah. It's because people have been doing that for her since she was an actual child, so what are you gonna do?
It's more the fact of no, she actually is just that good. And and probably buying into her own hype is one of the reasons that she, can cope with all the trauma, maybe. So
yeah.
But okay, with the blue box, we're gonna move on to chapter 225. It's precious. Kyo is still having his match with Taiki, and Kyo is seemingly gaining ground on Taiki. He scores a point and brings the score to 10-11, so the second set is also seemingly very close, according to what we can tell. For all we know, this is still the second set. I mean, we don't see the score at any point in this chapter.
I was going to say, we don't even know who necessarily... Who's leading? No, Taiki's still leading, right?
Taiki's still leading by one. Because
you say whoever scored first.
I believe that's the case. Yeah. I think it must be because in badminton you don't have the structure that tennis does, where one person keeps on serving. You trade off more. In any case, Ayame is still watching from right on the sidelines, and as she is watching, she thinks to herself, "Oh man, I'm so jealous." And for a second, I thought, "Wait, what? Of Taiki or?" And then I realized, oh, okay, because she goes on to think like they are just so focused on what they're doing right now. And she flashes back a little bit to when she was just, minding her own business, hanging out with her friend at a little dessert diner, and a girl comes up to her and says, "You knew I liked Saito, and now he's saying he likes you. You'll just flirt with anyone, won't you?" And Ame's like, "He did it to me."
I feel bad for Ayame. I do like how she's like, I'm so jealous of those boys. They're probably not, they're just so focused on the match they can't. And I'm like, these two are having the longest fucking flashback with one another. They're like sharing it as they go through. These boys could not be
Remember
more
when we were
focused.
friends? Yeah, remember that other time we were friends? Yeah, I remember that time that Zavik showed up.
Oh man, really, that is the big issue. I feel like if the Rock's flashback had just been spread out through one chapter in like 7 other series, I'd be like, this is much
Would
better.
have made every series must read for 1 week.
Now, granted, that is the philosophy that I believe comic books do very frequently, where they're like, you will want to pay we'll pay attention to this storyline if we put one part of it in 17 different series. But maybe this time it would work.
Although, if you want to hear about a time that Marvel did a Spider-Man spinoff that barely featured Spider-Man, we have a bonus podcast about that. So,
also, tangent. I was on the plane recently, and we ended up getting like delayed on the tarmac for like an hour and a half, and I just ended up watching Fantastic Four First Steps, but I was too lazy to like get my headset out, so I just watched a dude diagonal to me watch it, just completely silent, and I was like, yeah, you know what, this is about as equal as experience as what I saw it in a movie theater. I was just at this point where I was like, any minute now we're gonna get onto the air, so I can't possibly like get all my stuff out and everything, and then by the time I actually got into the air, it's like, yeah, fuck it, I'm just gonna watch the rest of it on his.
Nicole and I watched that this past weekend, and I understand why it did well, but not insanely well, basically. So,
yeah, I have more thoughts, but we're not a movie review podcast, so
not yet. So we have to review all the manga, and then we start doing movies. So yeah, and Ayami just reflects on like the judgment that she gets with people just being like, she's just like steals her friend's crush, and she's always just going from one boyfriend to the next, and she kind of like lost friends as a result of that, which makes sense. And she's now watching Kyo and Taiki, who are so intensely confrontational with each other, but this is like a manifestation of their friendship instead of them like being at each other's throats. And Ayame, thinks about the time that she came to the team, tried to skip town when she found out that Yusa was not on the team, but stuck around, and has been watching as a result of that Kyo and Taiki, practice with each other. And seeing them this way has made her realize that, hey, friends can just be into the same stuff. They can compete with each other. They can move in the same direction at the same pace. And that's more precious than they could ever realize. And Kyo manages to get a point by not chasing after one of Taki's shots that goes out of bounds. And she gets, she's really excited about that. And Kyo ends up going over to her on the sidelines and says, you're like really, really excited. And Ayame, ultimate soon, all of a sudden goes, no, like, I'm happy you scored a point. You're allowed to be happy he scored a point. You're the manager.
Also, you're very flagrantly like, nice call, ref, nice call. I'm like,
yeah,
they're both on your team. Like, you're supposed to be like objective in this sort of situation.
Kyo did say to her like, hey, it would be nice if you could cheer for me a little more because
sure,
they like each other and stuff. But yeah, and as Ayame passes Kyo a shuttlecock so that he can serve, she says to him, I'm glad that the two of you can keep playing badminton together a little bit more. And it's like, oh yeah, This is like the last official game that they're going to get to play, basically. They can practice together, but yeah. So Kyo gives her a smile, goes back onto the court, and they go back and forth some more. Taiki is still analyzing the situation. The crowd is, their different supporters are cheering them on. And then we go into Kyo and Taiki's flashback some more into, like how they've practiced together. And Taiki reflects on how they've practiced together so much because Kyo was always his preferred practice partner. And so he says, my countermeasures were perfect whenever I went up against someone who was left-handed because I played with him. Which I never even paid attention to the fact that Kyo was left-handed. Like, he's held that racket in his left hand every time we've seen him play. And because he's never been a player we focused much on before this point, I just have never, paid attention to it before.
Yeah, I don't think you should be, you should feel bad for that. Kyo's not really, prior to this, had a significant match, per se. I think maybe there was, one doubles match he and Taiki played at some point, but for the most part, they're just, random matches, so... That's fair.
I think that this might be the greatest statement against Blue Box. Blue Box is not a sports series thing that you can make because I fucking loathe Prince of Tennis. And I can tell you which players in their team were left-handed. They made a big fucking deal out of it. Taiki flashes back to a time when they both lost in a tournament, and immediately he was like, let's go practice! Let's go practice! Come on, I'm so mad, let's go practice some more. And that leads to Kyo reflecting on the fact that because Taiki was there, he could just kind of focus on practicing and getting better instead of stewing in his own losses. He reflects on how when he first started noticing that Taiki had a crush on Chinatsu, he was still that really straightforward, devoted guy. And so he started being like, you could try talking to her, just giving her basic advice. And he says something so cheesy, which is when it comes to romance, he should have been swept out of the first round, but somehow he ended up competing in the Olympics.
It took me so long to understand what that even meant. Because for the longest time, I was reading it literally, and I was like, wait, who played in the Olympics? That feels like that should be information we would have learned. It took me so long for us. He's making a dumb comparison to Chinatsu being an Olympic level challenge to romance. He's not wrong, I guess, but...
And then we finally get a little bit of non-Batman related flashback to in a recent conversation. It was revealed when they did a career interest thing that Kyo wants to be an architect. And he's like, yeah, I'm kind of interested in building a house that my whole family could live in. And Taiki was just kind of like, oh, that's awesome. Yeah. And Kyo says, what about you? And Taiki starts to answer. We don't get to see it. And we see Taiki going up for a smash and seemingly Kyo smiling contently. It seems as though Kyo's probably lost. But we don't get any confirmation of that in this chapter. Like I said, the only time that we even got a glimpse of the score was that one announcement right at the beginning.
What do you think Taiki said his career wants to be?
I don't know.
I bet he said guy who pushes dirt into his eyes. He's like, I came up with this when I was 3. Nothing I've ever done has changed.
Kyo's like, I'm starting to rethink this whole doggedly go for the first thing you think of approach that Taiki has.
I mean, in an interesting way, Kyo's kind of on that way too. He's like, I got a lot of siblings. I need a big house. I guess I'll be an architect. I'm like,
I guess I'll build one.
I'm like, there are probably smaller steps along the way. Whatever. It's fine. That's a good goal to go for.
Kyo, your whole family is probably not going to live together their whole lives.
I'm going to build one house they'll all live in forever. And then whenever one of them has family, they'll stay in the house and I'll just build a little bit more onto it. Also, we're going to change our name. We're going to change our name to the Winchester family.
All right. Yeah. Decent chapter. I did like some of the little bits in it quite a bit, but it's I didn't like it as much as some of the more recent chapters we've had of Blue Box.
Yeah, there's some nice moments here and there, and I do love getting to get a little bit more of Ayame and Kyo stuff, and even just more Kyo in general. But this is not like, I don't know. I feel like in the Kyo Taiki, they're such great friends. Isn't this such an iconic match? Like, I don't know, we're like a month long in this, so I'm like, all right, let's wrap this one up. That was the end, right?
Black Clover!
Ah, Jesus Christ. Black Clover, page 387, Limit Breakers. We get a big, beautiful color page. It's the fight between Yuno and Asta and Master Luscious. He's really strong, but they're also strong. Who's going to win? He declares himself the Wizard Emperor, which...
You can't just call yourself the Wizard Emperor. That's bullshit.
Yeah, they respond to like, that's not even a thing. Nobody acknowledges you. And they just defeat all of his magic in a panel. They don't really have too much of an issue with that. There is some fun action if you can decipher it. There's a lot of speed lines and a lot of visual effects currently going on, but the end point is that the heroes are doing relatively well. And Luscious, he's giving daps to Yuno. He's like, wow, you can reach even I, the Wizard Emperor. I acknowledge your skills, but this little
The Wizard
bitch...
Emperor, a title I have earned and not just scribbled on a piece of paper and then slapped on my head.
This is like when I tried to go, I was like, everybody please, I am Dr. Badass for months. I just told people to use that, and then eventually they were like, no, and this counts as medical malpractice as well. And anyway, those court cases are still being resolved. He takes a look at Asta and he's like, but this little bitch, this little fucking nerd basket, why are you fighting alongside of him? And Asta, or of course, is like, but I want to surpass Asta. You'd never be enough.
I want to surpass Asta.
You could surpass the Asta. You could never understand. And then we get just a magnificent reaction page from Master Luscious. He is so annoyed and so hurt at being called less than Asta. And really just has a monumental crash out afterwards. He's just like, what? Someone without magic shouldn't exist. He's narrow.
I put a post-it note on my head that says I'm Wizard Emperor.
Everyone's supposed to be clapping and saying how cool I am. Asta basically just gives his explanation where he's like, look, I didn't have magic, but the things that I felt along my journey, those were all real. Those are mine, and I'm not letting you take them from me. Maybe it's not fair. Maybe I'm not perfect.
If you look really closely, you can see Roxy Zebek in one of the panels.
Oh, and this isn't even really a flashback, so Nick, he might still be alive.
We got to watch out if there's a flashback in every chapter this week.
Depends. Is there a stool somewhere in fucking Odor of the Flame? They're like, actually, the stool was a D. That's why it was so significant that he took one of the legs off. D stool. There's no first name, but Asterix.
There's 4 legs on a stool, and so they were legs A, B, C, and D.
Oh my god, they took off the D leg. Oh my god. This is arc. This is peak. Asta exclaims, "This life is mine," and they're gonna fight. I love it. Master Luscious is like, "I'm the Wizard Emperor. I can't possibly be wrong." And it's like, again, you called yourself that earlier this chapter. Don't know why you act like that.
Maybe if you would start calling yourself that before the battle or something.
It's like if I tripped down, I was walking down the street and I tripped. I'm like, but I'm Dr. Badass. It's like, no, it doesn't work like that. There's no actual prestige connected to it. It's just like, nah, dude, you actually suck. And we're never going to lose to an idiot like you. And that is the end of that chapter. So we move on to page 388, the Hour of Judgment. They win. There's a big 2-page spread of 1,000 different characters all shouting out Asta, do it, all that sort of stuff.
I love when Black Clover characters all say the same thing.
Yep. They all have such distinct and iconic voices with phrases like "Go! You can do it! Win! And go!" So big stuff going on, and Luscious is like, "Aha! This is their destination, a place beyond their limits. They won't last long. All I have to do is hold out, and I win." And Yuno and Asta are like, "We just need one thing to break through this stalemate, and what should come in to break that stalemate, Nick? But Noel's butt." I don't know why this panel is framed in this direction, because I truly did not know what was happening when I turned the page, because I was like, I don't know.
Oh, I knew right away. I was like, oh, there's a butt. That must be Noel. Like,
well, I figured that out, but I was like, I turned the page, because I was like, I don't know who's going to actually be, like, the assistant in this. Like, someone must come to help, but who could it be? And I turned, and I was like, what the fuck's the drill hand? Oh, no pants. Okay, it's Noel. And she has this full circle moment where she says, this fight's moving really fast. They're really far away. I need precise control of my magic. And to remind the readers, she's like, that's something I've always been bad at. But at this point, I can do it. And she fires out a little ball of energy. It's almost kind of adorable. It's like, pew! And it like just plops Luscious into the cheek.
Ow!
But that's enough for them to be like, finishing blow, sha! And they both strike. However, before the finishing blow can happen, there's a brief moment where Master Luscious sees Julio Nova Chronos or whatever.
Julius Nova Chrono.
And he says, the hour of judgment is here. And
because my thing was time magic.
Yes. And they both strike, and boom! It seems as though Master Luscious is done. Is he? Yes, we go to page 389, the ultimate achievement, and we start in a flashback. Rox is in there somewhere in the void, and I guess not a flashback. This is
it's an internal world thing.
Yeah. Okay. So the mushroom magic is in here somewhere. Then, just being a rascal.
Oh no, that means he's going to die.
Oh no. Master Luscious is like, how did this happen? I was the Wizard Emperor. And Julius is like,
I had on a no-killing shield.
I was saying no the whole time they were cutting me. It shouldn't have worked. He's like, this won't work. The world they're gonna make isn't fair. They'll never bring about peace. And Julius is like, you know what? No one, you and I, we can see the future, but even we don't know what it's going to be in the future. Which means you can't.
No, I can see the future. That means that I do know. Like, that's how it works.
Kashin Koji told me there are multiple timelines that can constantly crop up, and he's the actual Wizard Emperor. Basically, he's just like, hey. Everyone keeps trying, and the answer is that everybody responded and rallied around Yuno and Asta, and not you. So, sucks to suck. And he just kind of Thanos dust snaps away. In the current, they're like, we did it! Yuno and Asta notice that the body left behind is no longer Master Luscious. It is Julian. Oh. They go up, and he's like, you guys pulled off the ultimate achievement. And then William Vengeance and Yami come up, and Julian is like, you guys did great. Thank you for leading the knights while I was gone. And then he looks over and he's like, damn, a lot of shit happened. And we just kind of get like a glimpse of a bunch of death. There's a shot of Seek dying in a pool of his own blood saying, I want to be stronger. There's a moment where Mary Lou Leona is like, hey, well, the fight's done, but all the mana that I've made up of is disappearing. I have no body, along with the other Crimson Lion members, so we're all just going to disappear. Goodbye forever. And then Julian's like, nope! No consequences!
No consequences!
He pulls out his infinite spell book that has all the spells. He reverses time, and hey, the Clover Kingdom is back to the way it was before, including all the members who were dead. We see them.
Including the great hero Jack the Ripper.
Great hero Jack the Ripper still alive. The two purple orca guys are still alive.
Thank God.
Yeah, big stuff all around, and Julian says, "I leave the kingdom in your hands," as he, I guess, crumbles to pieces or falls. It's kind of unclear, but his body's cracking apart, so I thought it'd be funny if he, like, fell together into, like, stone pieces or something.
Yeah, and everyone just kind of stands there and salutes instead of anyone trying to go over to see if there's anything they can do to help him.
Nah, everybody's like, no, this is,
He's dead. He's definitely dead. We can
Thematically
tell
makes
from
sense.
over here, 20 feet away.
Some people aren't even in the kingdom. Some people are just standing outside of it and they're like, dude's dead, I can tell.
Shouldn't we help him? I don't know. He's got a post-it note in his head that says, "I'm the Wizard Emperor," so he looks like a dick. I don't want to help him.
They're like, you can't possibly. I would never deign to interfere in the Wizard Emperor's life. It's a mere mortal like me.
Yeah. Well, this was a Black Clover conclusion. Yes. I will say that middle chapter actually quite good. I like the action, the way it plays out. I like there's that 2-page spread as you see the trails of and Asta chasing after Master Luscious. It's very cool and cinematic. And without exaggeration, Noelle coming in the clutch is way better than anything Sakura ever got to do in Naruto. Yeah. So
I'll say that, yeah, like, say what you will about, Black Clover and Noelle, but she did get to do something in the final battle, which is more than a lot of other characters got to do.
She got an arc and stuff.
There was like a full circle moment where she has to be like, I have to control my magic right now. And sure, I imagine if this was a series that had more time to kind of finish itself, maybe that moment could have been given even a little bit longer to kind of play out, but it works really well in this moment.
Yeah. I've not been a fan of a lot of the way that Black Clover has been doing some of this stuff in the final battle, mostly because I've just, never been super into it. And so, like, a lot of the stuff that it's pulling in order to be, like, big hype finales that just, I just don't have the attachment to it for it to really land with me. But looking at it, I will say that I think that, it was an appropriately big feeling finale. And yes, it's very cheesy to do the thing of like, and everyone's fine now. But what are you gonna do? Like a lot of series don't do that.
Yeah. All right, Chainsaw Man Nick.
Chapter 225. Barf. Motorcycle. Hell.
Can we note? Fujimoto's kind of given up on chapter titles recently.
Yeah.
This was like a fun gimmick once. This is like the 9th time he's done it in like the past year.
Motorcycle hell.
He's like, what are 3 things that happened this chapter? Fart, screech, and kaboom, or something like that. You're like, all right, that's not really a chapter title, but whatever.
Yes. None's got legs because Denji ate the leg devil, apparently. And Yoru doesn't even really know exactly what's happened, of course, but she realizes, like, Denji must have eaten some devil that makes it hard for creatures to move around because everyone's just, like, stumbling and crawling right now. Also, it's not just, like, some legs. Like, anything that is considered a leg is seemingly gone because humans just have their arms, and there are 2 pigs that are just stumps right now because their forelegs count as legs too. Denji eats another thing as Yoru demands that he stop eating.
We cut over to Oda, who's like, "Why was I sad about that stool? I didn't even do anything with it."
But nothing seems to happen with the next thing that Denji eats, and Yoru realizes, like, okay, right, not every single concept that is erased has to be something super important to the world. So, right, I gotta hurry before he eats something important. And he's just eating all these little fingers that he's got, popping them down one by one. And as he goes for one, Yoru spots a motorcycle, and it goes to turn into a weapon, but she has to go, ha, 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 ha. And it's not clear immediately why. But then as she rams the motorcycle into Denji and he coughs something up and you don't have teeth, oh, that's what he ate. Mm-hmm. And so for the next page, we get some dialogue that you just kind of have to like squint and tilt your head in order to figure out what Yoru's saying because she's saying it without teeth. And she just reaches into Denji's throat and says, through slurred speech, if she turns him into a weapon now, then the world's going to be totally messed up. So she has to get him to cough up some things before she turns him into a weapon, which I do love that part of it. It's like, well, I can't do it now. This world sucks.
And I like how she also has to just like reach in and just grab shit out.
Get out of there. She manages to get Chainsaw Man Denji to barf up some stuff, bringing back legs and teeth, which allows Denji to kick her away. And then she realizes that a bunch of the devils aren't on him anymore. And she's like, what happened to all the devils? They were strapped to your body. And then she says, they weren't in my barf? And then they both realize that they're over there somewhere. So she fires her gun and blows them away so he can't eat anymore. But then she just tucks and runs again. And Yoru is like, what the hell? Stop it! Bite me! Stop it! You can't mess up my world without eating devils, and I've got one of your pawns over here. Come and fight me so you can try and eat it. And then she says, nah, those can't fill me up anymore. And Yoru demands to know, like, what are you talking about? And Denji's standing on top of the door to hell as he says, I'm going to hell to gobble up some real goblins. So he goes down the door, Yoru chases after, and they are both in hell. Last time that Denji went to hell, didn't turn out so good. So we'll see what happens this time.
Yeah. I don't know if this is all part of like a grand Denji master plan or if he's just an idiot, but I presume things being in hell means things are going to be a little more significant. Certainly the devils involved will be probably more significant than like the teeth devil and whatnot. So yeah, we shall see.
Yep.
All right, Nick. Dandadan, chapter 222. Oh God, I hate these chapter titles on this like screen grab.
Who are you people?
Who are you people? Yeah, great thing to ask as we see these three people. From left to right, they are some extremely bulked out dude with like the Friar Tuck haircut, but like a long hair version of the Friar Tuck haircut. Very bad look. Someone who I presume wanted to wear an Organization 13 hoodie, but was told they don't legally have the rights to it. So he's wearing like the closest, non-trademark infringing equivalent.
Now put a belt on this.
And then a dapper man wearing a pumpkin diaper looking at porn. And the last one is who's actually the most significant character in this chapter. Because if you said to yourself, Quinn, did you say pumpkin diaper? And I was, yeah. And you're like, well, does that pumpkin diaper fart out like a toxic gas that can then be ignited? Of course it does. Because that's how this guy fights, is by farting out gas and then lighting it on fire and creating big explosions. We do find out the name of the middle guy, who I guess is the leader. His name is Sir Red. They note, hey, big muscle arm guys, like, is the strength of knights like us really needed to defeat those pigs? And Sir Red says, don't drop your guard. Even pigs can bite. Oh my gosh, Rin asks for Mai's help. And I do love we cut over to Rin, who is just like hanging out in Mai's room. And it's just like, wow, this vampire novel is pretty good. Oh, I'm being called. And she just teleports away with like the potato chip she was holding falls to the ground. And a lot of explosions going on. Rin transforms and she's like, hey, can you use your powers too, Yukishiro? And she's like, I don't know. And she turns and the pygmies have already built a piano for her.
Good old pygmies.
Yeah. So the Yukishiro starts playing using Lord of the Flies. All the bugs are flying in, and Pumpkin Diaper just blows them up. He just uses his explosions and just starts annihilating them. And there's a moment where Mai's like, Rin, can't you use the gravity to do something about the fire? And Rin has to explain, like, that's not how physics work, so no. But also, fire rises. Like, I'm using my power to push him away, but that just makes the fire come at us even more, essentially. They're like, okay, we'll flip him upside down. They're like, yeah, that's not really doing much either. But Yukishiro adds, hey, the pygmies are telling me that if we work together, it will amplify our strength. So there's a bunch of big explosions from Pumpkin Diaper. We just see a bunch of silhouettes. Our characters are kind of covered in like this black mass we can't really see. And as the smoke clears in a 2-page spread, we see that Rin has finally gotten a better outfit.
Oh, yeah. And so is Yukishiro. Yeah.
Yeah, her outfit's cute. It's a little bug costume.
Yep.
So yeah, I guess we'll see what abilities their powers together can create.
Yes, they seem to have much more of a focus on roaches than like flies in this panel. But yeah, fun stuff. I really like the reveal at the very end of it. It's exciting, and we'll see how well this goes in the next chapter. Hopefully, farty flyer guy does not stick around very long because I kind of hate his design.
What? Do you dislike the pumpkin diaper, the porn he's looking at, or all that in combination with his other generic traits?
Just the whole package, yeah.
It is a tire trope, you know. We've been talking about it a lot, where it's just like, look, can we stop with the pumpkin diaper people? It's really obnoxious.
All right, Spy Family, Mission 127, Part 2. For some reason, yeah, the whole Murdoch Swan scheme has been foiled, and he, along with a dozen other teachers and collaborators, have been arrested. So there is a news conference where someone has to say, like, "Oh, we're gonna do an investigation about all of this stuff." But of course, there are immediate consequences.
We assure you, we rested Aunt Becky. She can't do this anymore. She can't hurt us anymore.
Of course, there are immediate consequences of this, and the Academy falls under controversy because of the scale of how bad this was. Murdoch Swan complains to the police after he's arrested. Is like, I know that you guys must relate to me. Like, I work for such meager wages, and he's asked, like, aren't you like paid really well? He's like, no, not much more than what you guys are actually making, because we're public servants and stuff, and all these brats who come in are the children of wealthy scions and famous families and everything. It's all about how they've got new summer homes and all this stuff. So yeah, he was justified in taking bribes. Sure. So Yuri's group, talks a little bit about everything, and they wonder about like where they got the printing press that they used for certain stuff, and they think like it must be like contraband from the West. And Yuri points out like, we never did figure out who at Eden Academy tipped off the drivers in the bus jacking incident. So it seems like there's a lot of shady stuff happening at Eden Academy. So that's a nice little note there, like, okay, it's not just that the school is the backdrop because of the Desmond stuff. There could also be other things going on with that. But some of those consequences come in. People are like posting graffiti and everything because of the Eden controversy, even blaming the students, even though they had nothing to do with it. Henderson, at least, is back on the staff. And hey, reflecting on some of the bright times, everyone in Anya's group who went to the abandoned facility is commended and receives Stella stars.
Not everyone, Nick. Do.
I cannot believe this, Quinn, but I actually immediately noticed, wait a minute, George isn't there.
I was so mad. My boyfriend was next to me as I was reading this chapter, and I was like, wait a minute, where's George? I was like, look, he didn't do anything. But he was there. He went along with everyone else.
I like the contrast between Emil and Ewan and everyone else in this shot, because they're just like, yeah, we got Stella's. And everyone else is like, I've been practicing my cool pose for this moment. Which they're allowed to. They're children. But it's just a funny contrast. These are apparently Amelia Ewan and Connie's first Stellas, though. So Becky is quick to kind of like, pounce on some of the students who come over to apologize to Mr. Henderson for believing the lies about him. But the gardener guy comes over and he says like, hey, they did apologize, and it takes a big person to admit that they were wrong about something. He puts a positive on it. So nice little exchange there. Then Madame Schlag comes over and she says, yes. I'm glad that you're all safe, but I'm not overlooking the fact that you trespassed in the old schoolhouse. And she calls for Tonitrus bolts from her assistant, and they're like, no, but we... And she, bah! into the kids' heads. But it's just an umbrella thingy. It's not a Tonitrus bolt.
Just a little sticker, it looks like.
Yeah. And she says, the rules exist to protect you little lambs from danger. Next time, properly seek help from a grown-up. And she says, this is not an actual Tonitrus bolt. They're not actually receiving demerits for this. But she says, if you get like enough of these warnings, then you will get a Tonitrus. So go do some volunteer labor. That's your punishment. Reflect on this. But yeah. So that's fair. You went somewhere you shouldn't have, and you endangered yourselves, even if it was for good reason.
Mm-hmm.
Things start to get back to normal. Henderson is back to teaching. We see that Anya and her friends have to do, the little help afterwards. And then as they're doing that, Damien spots George poking his head around the corner. And I immediately went, oh, good.
Yeah, I was like, they better give it. I was going to be so mad if we got to the end of the chapter. And I was like, if George doesn't get this, then he better turn into a supervillain, because it's supreme bullshit if everyone else gets one for going along and not him.
It's like that bit from Meet the Robinsons. They all hated me. But, yeah, Damien and everyone else are like, oh, we just forgot that you were there with us. And even Madame Schlag's like, I forgot you were there. I'm so sorry. Please accept this Stella from the awards. Also, you can have the little rain one, too.
He's so excited. He's like,
He's so happy. Yeah, that's it. That's the end of the arc. Hooray.
Yeah, good little story. Nice little satisfying conclusion. Justice for George finally achieved. We didn't know we needed it, but we finally got it.
I'm pretty sure we didn't need it, but whatever.
Yeah. Again, he didn't do anything. He didn't do a heroic sacrifice. He just got knocked out with some other people.
Right. Hima-Ten, or as it's also known, Hima-73, Heroin on the Slopes, Part 2.
They're not going to be doing drugs in this chapter, Nick, are they?
It's a different kind of snow, Quinn.
Oh, okay.
People call heroin snow, right? Is that a thing?
It's good, Nick. You're good.
I know. I know this stuff. So Iemori is sticking around waiting to be picked up to go to the snowboarding trip that Kanai and their friends are going to go on. And Kanai's mother shows up in a minivan and is like, oh, hi, Iemori, nice to see you. And so they exchange pleasantries. He gets in the car and then realizes oh, it's empty. He says, is Kanai not here? And she says, oh, yeah, so get this. Hono got a fever last night and she's in bed resting. And Iemori's like, oh my gosh, should we cancel? And Hanoka's mother says, no, well, she was so stubborn about it. She didn't want you guys to be disappointed. So she just asked me to take you all there. She wanted me to go to the hot springs. So yeah, we're going to go pick up Mayu and Yokomizo. You three are going to have fun. Just do it, And it's like,
I cannot imagine.
This is so weird.
I cannot imagine. I would almost have to escape out of the car and just duck and roll onto the road, because I can't imagine a more awkward scenario than oh, my friend's mom is driving me and two other friends to have a trip. Her daughter can't be here though. Our classmate can't be there because she's sick, but we'll all go on her car. No, that's insane.
I was at a family gathering a couple years ago with Nicole's family, and during one part of it, she stayed behind while I went with her dad and some others to go do mini golf. And she and I are married at this time, and I still felt a little bit awkward riding in the car with her dad to go someplace. So imagine being a 16-year-old going with the girl you have a crush on's mom somewhere without her.
Either her mom is playing the ultimate wingman, or her mom's insane. Like in my mind, I'm like, why would you agree to this?
I'm 60-40 on that split. Like, I'm pretty sure, but I'm not certain.
Like, isn't your daughter home sick? Shouldn't she be at home taking care of her?
Yeah, we cut over to Honoka, who's got the sound effect, oh no, because she's feeling so bad. She's got a bad fever. And she thinks to herself it's because she wore that, kimono when she went to the shrine with Mayu. Aw. And so it was all, she got the chills and stuff. And so she has a brief moment to go. It's like, this sucks. I really want to go on the snowboarding trip. Before Mayu bursts through the door with Yokomizo and with Iomori, instead of going on the snowboarding trip, they all came to visit her and make her feel better. Hooray. And Honoka, of course, is like, you guys should all go and stuff. And Mayu's like, how could we? Because the trip was your idea. We can't just go without you. And Iomori's like, your idea? I thought it was your idea, Mayu. And Honoka's like, I guess it was my idea. Yeah, okay. But Yokomizo brings the point of like, okay, she's feeling sick, guys. Maybe we should like let her rest and stuff. So they start to go. And Honoka, is like, I'm sorry, thanks everyone. They all just like wish her well and want her to get better. And as they're starting to go, Iomori, reflects on the fact that, like, he's worried about her, but he doesn't really know if he can, like, do anything for her in this moment. And he gets in the car to go home, and Mayu notices, like, he's in a weird mood and says, oh, are you like, sad that you didn't get to go snowboarding with her? And she says, yeah, she was excited to get to do it too. When you called out sick during our middle school trip, that's why this happened. That's why she wanted to go snowboarding, is because she wanted to go together with you. And she even said specifically she wanted us to go to the same place that we did in middle school. And Honoka's mother from the front seat is like, oh yeah, I remember that, because like I took her over to your place so she could give you a gift. And she was so nervous about it. It was like her first time going over to a boy's house, but she knew what a hard time you were having, and she just didn't have the guts to ask you about it at school. And in that moment, like, she apparently like was like, oh, you can do it and stuff. And so she built up courage in order to go and see him. And that's the other side of, things we only saw from Iomori's perspective before. And Iomori just, reflects on like, oh, wait, it's a flashback. Hang on, let's check the back seats of the car quick.
Rox is hiding. Maybe Rox you got me.
Rox is like, go and tell that boy you love him.
Hurry, before the Abyssal Covenant takes me.
I don't know what you're talking about, mister. There's 3 layers to the Abyssal Covenant. I don't know how relevant that is to my situation right now. It feels like a lot of world building is being dumped on me in my personal situation right now.
Honoka, you have to kill me. Don't let me tear apart the rest of this island.
Look at all the different members of my crew and how relevant they all were.
Whitebeard comes by like, come on, Honoka, let's get going.
So Honoka wakes up a bit later after getting some rest. Her fever's gone down a bit. She goes to talk to her mom, and Iomori is there. And Honoka's like, what the hell is my mom? It's just a fair question to say. And apparently, like, Iomori came over to help out. Honoka's mom is just having gone out to go and get some stuff. But so they take a moment, they go outside, and snow's falling and stuff. And there's an awkward moment where Iomori somehow asks yet doesn't ask for them to hold hands. Like, I don't know how he manages to not do it. He gets like 90% of the way there and then just goes, your hands, it's cold, and maybe you should stay warm and stuff. And it's like, he's got his hands hidden away inside his pockets. He's making no motion. She's got her hands buried in the blanket that she's wearing. Just ask to hold her hand, you doofus. She sticks her hand in his pocket instead in the most awkward moment ever. Yeah, oh yeah, I'll get one hand warm.
In the most comfortable position possible. My hand in someone else's pocket, yeah.
Hanoka says, I actually am pretty good at snowboarding. I was looking forward to being able to teach you. And Iemori's like, yeah, that would have been great. And they express their regret of like, yeah, this sucks that this happened. But Iemori says, yeah, but it does kind of feel like we actually have reached the same place, like emotionally, And there is just kind of like a weird, awkward moment that is still like a moment of connection between them. And Iemori, in the most bald-faced lie I've ever heard, narrates, to me, Kanai is the heroine of this story.
Fuck off. Iemori has never been more unlikable than this moment. In this moment, Kanai felt like the heroine of the story. Then we're admitting the thing out loud, like she's not the heroine. I get it, we're calling it Hima-Ten, but this is such a douchey way of phrasing it. Like, in that one moment, I really felt like Honoka was the lead character. Period.
First off, who talks about other human beings that they know that way? You psychopath, Iemori. This is the kind of shit that All For One would say, where he talked about the way that stories end and stuff. Psychopath behavior.
Yeah. Look, I don't want to say it's like a bad chapter. It's just whatever. And
it's really weird.
I despise the ending, but outside of that, it's pretty forgettable and fine. All right, okay. Nick, we have Odor of the Flame, chapter 33, 5, because there's 5 spirits.
And then next week it'll be chapter 34, 19. We'll just say like numbers differently. It's like a randomizer.
Oh, yeah, chapter 37, 2,100, yeah. And then, of course, chapter 37, it's over. It didn't make it that long.
I can't count that high.
Yeah, 0, I guess.
Oh. Yeah, so the Ice King, what an Ice King, has said that Odor should hand over his power now because, they're actually the good guys, wouldn't you know it? Because of the Saga of the 5 Heroes, you need all 5 spirits to seal away the great evil and stuff. Erder runs up to Katane and other characters there too and stuff. Filgia calls out to the Ice Spirit and says, like, hey, if you give that much spirit power, it'll happen. Even if a human can use heroic vigor, their vessel will break. And the Ice King just says, I'm prepared to go to Valhalla as long as I don't die before defeating the evil king. So he's like, yeah, I don't care. I'll do it. It's fine. So, but wouldn't you know it, Quinn? The evil king's resurrected. There he is.
What bad timing. There he is. Awesome design, by the way. Really kind of cool looking dude who is just there to just get exploded upon by a bunch of characters next week, I presume.
Ew.
Not like that. We're going to save that for the doujinshi that no one's going to be making of this series.
Wow. There's got to be someone who remembers Hunter's Guild Red Hood and is like, I'll check out what boob ladies are in this one too. There's got to be someone who's
they would be so mad. They're like, they were around and they never got used.
They left them behind.
Scotty never talks. What is this?
Yep. So, oh dear, the evil king is here. The Ice King is like, look. We don't have time to talk anymore. If you refuse, then I will use force to take your spirit. Erder shows up and is like, I'm not going to, give up against you. I'm going to fight you. I don't care what the situation is. So they start to square off, but then Otter breaks out of the ice that he was stuck to, and he slams his sword down, and he says, I won't sheathe my blade. I can't forgive what you've done, but right now I have no intention of swinging this sword at you. I fought this far in order to help people survive and end this war. If we can defeat the evil king, the war will end. Let's discuss a ceasefire. And Hertz is like, this is bullshit. No. And Hertz says, look, giving him all the 5 spirits will kill him, and I don't want anyone else to die. So, how about we split them up and like 2 and 3? Or
how about we all just take the spirits we know? Okay, no, I don't want.
Why do you have to combine them into one body? Why can't all 5 of you just fight together? Like,
well, because we're not drawing 5 separate special forms.
So, Oter's like, look, we'll just keep fire, wind, and tree. You can have water and ice, and then we'll help you out. And the Ice King starts to say no, and then Oter goes digging around for something. And he pulls out the sword that was forged for him that he's used like once to fight, and he offers it to the Ice King and says, look, this is Viking metal. Your spirit power can be channeled through it, and I'm giving it to you. I won't let you die, because there's a lot I need to talk to you about once the fighting is over. And I'll have to ask everyone, including the spirits themselves, how they feel first. But look, we got to hurry in this. And so immediately Katane and Scotty are like, yeah, sure, okay. And Jormungandr's like, yeah, this is a solid plan. Let's do it. Scotty's just like, all right, fine.
I don't even know who's the guy in the top left who's like, I agree with the point.
That's the tree spirit. That's Jormungandr.
Okay. Okay, yeah.
We've seen him talk once before or something like that.
Got it.
So Oter says, what about you, Ice King? And the Ice King says, Thimble. Call me Thimble, the king of starry frost. Which, the Fimbulwinter is the precursor to Ragnarok. So that's why he's named that. So yeah, they trade off spirits, I guess. And Thimble thinks to himself that, wars between kingdoms and our fated struggle with the evil king. If we each face each other, could we really? And man, look how far this character has come, Quinn. In the 2 chapters we've known him, he's changed so much. What a long journey we've had to come to this realization.
Such development. I'm glad we finally got there. I was, for the longest time since he was introduced last chapter, I've been like, I hope the Ice King gets some
Now,
real...
Quinn, we saw him for one panel before this arc. So...
True. And I've been longing since then. I've been like, I really hope we get more of this character. Finally.
Thimble goes over to Calerio to get the water spirit too. Etopirco goes to Oter and Filgi and says, like, hey, you guys know what you're doing, right? According to the Saga of the 5 Heroes, when spirits fulfill their duties, Anyway, we gotta go fight this thing. Oh, look, here's the evil king. And Oter and Thimble, they've got new super forms now with big swords. The end.
Yeah.
I mean, to be continued, but yeah.
It might as well be the end. Yeah, the series is kind of wrapping itself up, it seems, and it's not going to end on a particularly fun note, but it is going to end, so I guess that's something.
Yes, yeah, I mean, I feel like this has been coming for a while at this point, but this is, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go.
Sure. Yeah, look, again, I think the actual evil king design or whatever is cool looking. If this was a Yu-Gi-Oh monster, I'd be like, ooh, tell me more about this archetype. But
yeah, how many 10-star monsters do you have to overlay to summon that thing or whatever?
Well, you gotta have one of each element of spirit, and then you discard them to summon this guy from your extra deck.
This sounds like something that you could give every effect in the world, and nobody would play it because it's too hard to summon.
I recently found out about a card in Yu-Gi-Oh that you have to. It's a trap card where you have to remove cards from your extra deck equal to the number of monsters you have on the field, and then remove more extra deck monsters equal to the level of monsters your opponent has on the side of the field, and the end result is you board wipe them. You just destroy all the cards they have, and I was like, that's insane. But then I was told that it was actually meta for a while, so I was like, all right, you know what? I don't get this game at all.
Someone Hurts. Chapter 16, Bakamajime. Yeah, Mizuo has made it into the semifinals of the Listener Kyoshien. And hooray, there was a celebration, but turns out, round two's now. There's not even a break for this. So she says to Mimei, hey, let's go outside, as they're on the phone together. And Mimei's like, we can't though. We almost we didn't get caught last time, but it could be dangerous. We could get caught, and also your signal would be better if if you just want to keep your window open and touch your radio. And Mizuo just says I wanted to listen together. It helped me keep my composure. Oh, this. And she says, I also wanted to show you when I won the event.
Aww.
But then she gets much more typically Mizuo by saying, I know this is a shellfish request on my part. And she's like, I guava have you because you're the leader of my cheer squad. And Mizuo's like, why are you joking at a time like this? This is the best time to joke. She's about to go into a joke contest. What are you talking about?
You're both listening to a 3 a.m. comedy podcast, and you're like, what's with all this riffing and material? This is a serious moment.
So Mizuo says to Mimei, look, I've lost to Battle Chimney before, but you're cheering me on really hard, so I don't think I'm going to lose now that I've come this far. Okay, I got to hang up so I can focus on sending in my submissions. And Mimei does send her a little icon in their text chat, and he thinks to himself, she'll be fine. Mizuo looks troubled when we cut over to her. The semifinals proceed, and so the hosts just say that for the next 20 minutes, they're just going to read every entry that they think is funny, as soon as they get it. So it's just live submission.
It's an insane concept when you think about it. You're like, what if you don't get anything funny? It's just 2 straight minutes of dead air as you read. You're like, meh.
It's a lot of pressure to be putting on 3 people, 3 listeners, 3 strangers.
And one of them, you're like, I'm pretty sure she's a high schooler.
The prompt is, why does this robot seem so human? And Quinn, do we want to do our answers to this now or do it at the end?
Yeah, we should do it first because theirs are all really bad. So
they're not good.
No matter how bad ours are, they're going to seem better once you hear the other ones. You're like, ooh, those are pretty good, actually, now that I think about it. Yeah. Nick, why does this robot seem so human?
He keeps trying to get ChatGPT to do its work.
That's a good one.
Quinn, why does this robot seem so human?
It's pretty good at drawing hands. Not great, but pretty good.
Both went the same route. So Mimei settles down to listen to the show, and he's like, "Oh, I get to actually listen with headphones this time," because he's been listening just on his radio while being on the phone with Mizuo recently. But then the submissions start coming in. Battle Chimney's first is, it's showing off that it's not charging. Okay.
That's I just placed myself in the spot of the radio host staring at it, and I'm like, these fucking suck. It's showing off that it's not charging. Yuck, 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 yuck.
Oh, man, that chimney does it again.
And then they go back to look at their garbage. It leaves orders temporarily unread. God damn it, I hate this.
I should have been an engineer. But Mimei realizes that, oh shit, Eel Potato, Mizuo, is not getting any answers read. And he's like, if she were acting like she usually is, she would just have no problem with this. She'd be firing stuff off, no problem. Is she having difficulty submitting them right now? And he thinks to himself, she's facing Battle Chimney again. She's lost him. Maybe she's nervous. Maybe she wasn't kidding about that. I mean, that can't be right. She's always so composed and aloof. And uh, I don't know if this is a flashback or if he's imagining her saying this, of her just saying, here's a palindrome I just came up with. Was lion oil sock? It's like, that is a palindrome. Yes.
You're technically right. I have to assume this is an imagined memory, because if it was a flashback, we would be able to see rocks somewhere, and I don't see him.
True.
Kind of looks like it's just like a screen print background, so I don't think he's in there anywhere.
So we may thinks like maybe Mizuo's like discouraged right now. Maybe she's nervous. And he thinks to himself, it's about a 10-minute ride to get to Mizuo's house from here. And then he thinks, I'm sure she was just making an excuse to go out. There's nothing I can do, even if I do get there. And he's crawling out of the window while he's thinking this, this is pointless. I'm so stupid, as he rides over. And he stops riding his bike because he realizes, I'm like listening to this, and maybe I shouldn't be doing that while riding my bike. And instead he runs. He hustles in order to get there. Fortunately, they take a break to play a song, Bakumajime, which is where we get our title from. And as the song plays, Mimei, he loses breath a bit, pushes himself to keep on going. We see that Mizuo is still kind of struggling to submit stuff. She's got that screwed up face.
It's the face I also make when I'm trying to put out a banger tweet. Ooh.
Battle chimney, daddle chimney. They keep on getting stuff read off. Hateful Eight occasionally too. Mizuo still not getting anything read off. Mimei gets to Mizuo's place, and he's like, I came over here.
I don't know where she lives.
I don't know which one she lives in. And he's like, I can't call out to her. It's the middle of the night. I don't want to disrupt her. So he just shrilly calls out, Mizuo, you can do it.
I don't know. He whisper shouts.
Mizuo, you can do it. And Mizuo in her apartment, for some reason, just kind of looks over her shoulder and pulls aside the curtain, and she sees Mimei down there, and she makes definitely the most genuine expression we've seen her make in the whole series thus far. Just this absolute shock, but tinted with relief. And then she turns away from the window after seeing him, and Mimei immediately thinks, oh god, maybe it was a stupid idea. Maybe I look like a creep now. But Mizuo steels herself and then starts submitting stuff as Mimei's like, oh, I look so stupid, I should just leave. And then over his headphones he hears from listener Io Potato as she got one read off. And why does this robot seem so human? It has relationship issues. At least it's a joke. Jesus Christ. She keeps on getting read off over and over and over again, and we see hints of her opponents reacting as Hateful Eight clearly is starting to get worried. And that's it. Results are going to be announced at the end of the show, so it seems like the finals are actually going to be on a different episode. Mizuo rushes downstairs and goes outside, and she says to Mimei, Your clothes are reversed backwards. Mimei's like, oh, so they're on right?
I'm glad these two really do belong together, because he never gets annoyed with this shit. No matter what situation it is, he's like, yeah, girl's got to do her bits. She's got to get her lines in there.
This was so fucking cute. You can tell that this would have been the lead up to the finale if this series were getting canceled, because there is definitely a feel they could have just transitioned from this into them getting together or something like that right away. But as it so happens, Quinn, someone Hertz had the 6th best-selling volume
it outsold Akane-banashi, so it's not going anywhere for a while.
So hooray. We will have plenty more
bad responses to joke prompts in the series that we'll try and beat as they come out.
In fairness, I assume a lot of the humor is cultural or lost in translation. I never want to be like my joke was better, but I do I do enjoy reading through this chapter about like comedy and like the connection that it brings these people, and just every joke these characters tell is just the most unfunny non-joke I've ever read. It's truly like a small delight to read a joke and be like, it shows off it's not charging. What the hell?
Fuck is that? What?
What the hell does that mean? There's like there's a moment where they do like 7 in a row. It high fives you. It calls itself by the books human. I'm like, none of these are jokes. None of these are funny. What is this?
It goes around saying, "Look at what a human I am."
Oh God. Silly stuff.
Oh, Quinn. It's Ultimate Exorcist Kiyoshi time. Chapter 75, The Eldest Son, Hellzabobo. As we get a little photo of the crew of the Gates of Hell restaurant hanging out together as Kiyoshi is losing a trading card game.
It's Hanafuda, right?
If you say so.
It looks
I don't...
It looks like Hanafuda from here.
Gotcha. Bobo's castle. Hellzabub has beaten up a bunch of the guards, storms into the throne room where Bobo is awaiting in burb form. And the horned burb hops off its perch and... he looks generic. God damn it. I don't like Hellzabobo's design. It's such a letdown for me.
It's
just generically bad guy pretty.
I was going to say, he feels more aesthetically aligned for like one of the side villains in a villain group and not the big main bad guy villain.
Yeah. This guy better have a ridiculous second form or something like that. But yeah, we're introduced to Hellzabobo. And so he mocks Bub by saying, well, you're here to give me another warning. And that, I'm not going to listen to you. And so Bub says, well, then I'm just going to have to kill you. And I'll be taking him back too. And Bobo says, nah, that belongs to me. Now, I got a question for you. You lost your mind? Why are you friends with a fucking exorcist? And Bobo's like, what are you talking about? This is the least convincing liar ever. And Bobo is like, all right, well, the demon realm's ours now. And they, have like parental child arguments back and forth before Bub unleashes an attack to basically like gravity spirit pressure attack Bobo. And Bobo says, you always get mad like this. Those were the good times. I could feel your authority. It was the authority of a great demon lord. But this is all it amounts to now, as he just approaches casually, just like strolls through the heavy gravity, and it doesn't affect him at all. And Bub is reacting to his presence instead. So he tries to use his gravity powers to jerk Bobo forward so that he can smash him. But Bobo easily dodged out of the way, stomps him in the back of the head, and just pushes him down on his face and says, the one who should be bowing his head is you. As of today, I am the great demon lord. And fortunately, Bub has a little trick up his sleeve, the fruit of life cycles, which he chomps into and takes a sexy form with no pupils and a big crown. A big crown that floats on his head because he's got too many horns for it to fit on him properly. And then we cut away from there as they start to clash. Things are going pretty well for Hima-Ten. He's beaten up a bunch of the rabble demons, and he is smoking a cig. But he realizes that Hellzagaga has just been watching him the whole time. And just kind of like waiting for him to be done with all of the common demons. And he launches a fire attack at Hima-Ten. And Hima-Ten dodges out of the way. And he says, yeah, so sorry, I'm not like Mr. Shishido because I'm not an idiot who reveals all of his attacks in one go before using them. So I don't do that in order to help out my enemy by knowing what they can do. You only get to see my tricks once, right before you die. And he unleashes his Oni fire, which Gaga had been copying, but he unleashes a different form of it. This huge burst of black flame that rains down from the sky. And he says, this is a rain of fire that rarely falls even in the demon realm, so savor it to the fullest. And fortunately, Gaga has his own trick because he manages to endure it. He just tanks it all. And Shuten's like, what the hell? His resilience is even higher than it was before. And Gaga says, like, yeah, I've got all these stolen abilities, which means that I've got an infinite number of moves that I can use, and thus an infinite pool of counters. And as the fire fades away, it's revealed that his form is dripping and liquidy, and that's how he was able to endure it. He just used the opposing element, of course. He goes around to go like Hydro Man and attack and snake around and attack, but Shuten unleashes more fire to try and use snakes of flame to snag him, but the water just splits and he just surrounds Shuten and tries to drown him. And he's like, I got fire resistant liquefaction, so you can't bind me, you can't burn me, and now I'm just gonna drown you. You suck, Shuten.
Now,
He
Nick,
starts to
I heard you refer to his form as Hydro Man. I want to know.
Is that his name?
Well, no, I believe that's his name. I just want to know, was that intentionally not calling to mind Darkwing Duck's the Liquidator?
Yes, far better known option.
The far superior version of Hydro Man. He is a dog, I believe.
He is a dog, and I have to say, the Liquidator is absolutely a character you don't appreciate nearly so much until you understand what the joke is when you're older. Or everything that he says is a commercial pitch. It's so good. But as Shuten seemingly is fading, because of course he can't breathe and all the water surrounding him, and Gaga is mocking him, suddenly Gaga's form starts to boil. And he's like, what the hell? He's not even gesturing. He hasn't said anything. How is he doing this? And Shuten turns his head and his eyes are crackling with energy as Gaga is forced off of his body because he's so hot. His body's boiling off of Shuten. And Shuten turns on him and says, sorry, Gaga, I lied. From now on, I'll be pulling out all the stops, too. That's our chapter.
All right, Nick. Which was your favorite Darkwing Duck antagonist? Of course, there is Negaduck, classic. Megavolt, that was kind of a big one. I remember seeing Megavolt a lot.
Bulba.
That's a good one. Quackerjack.
Bushroot.
Quackerjack.
Bushroot. Yeah. I think one of my favorite episodes of Darkwing Duck is the two-parter about the Fearsome Five, where it's just a big team up with all the villains. That was the first time I actually ever saw Liquidator in anything, and it features the classic line, "Put out the Bushroot." So yeah.
What a great time. I forgot the fiendish organization for world larceny, Foul.
Foul, yeah.
Good stuff.
With Steelbeak was a top member there. Yeah.
That is not to say that Ultra Exorcist Kyoshi didn't have a good chapter. It's just very fine. It's perfectly serviceable in all the ways it needs to, and yeah, Liquidator. What a cool character. Just a cool ocean dog, man. Really loved it. All right.
That's the weird sequel to the already weird song, Ocean Dog Man.
They're I don't think the way to reinvent this song is to add more syllables to the to that iconic part.
Just insert the word dog into the lyrics as they exist without changing them otherwise.
All right. Marriagetoxin. Chapter 151.
Yes, there's 150 or more chapters to see of Marriagetoxin. And we get, in this one, a flashback, Quinn, to Arashiyama's childhood, to when a fierce, scary hamster was squaring off against her in an alleyway, and Arashiyama
That was one of the Rocks pirates as well.
the scary, scarred hamster.
Honestly, it would not shock me if Oda was like, the ship's pet was a super scary hamster that would fuck you up.
Absolutely.
And at a higher boundary than Chopper does.
Kimie, when she saw the scary hamster, turned to her older brother and was like, I can't do this. I can't befriend this ferocious stray hamster. But her brother went down to the hamster and said, hey, it's all right. No matter how fierce the bloodlust they're steeped in, as long as you face them with honest and sincere feelings, the other party's sure to warm up to you. And he says to the hamster, all I want is to be friends with you, little guy. You survived alone your entire life, huh? You must have been lonely all on your own. And it attacks him, ripping at his thumb. But shortly afterwards, the hamster does chill out, and it's so cute when he's napping. Aww.
Mm-hmm. Well, sweet.
And so yeah, after that helps Kimie to befriend it as well, and she thinks to herself, that was my last memory of my brother before he disappeared. And yeah. But her hams have found Garo in the present. And she learns that he's also on a rampage as well, trying to, murder Toshiro at this point. And Ushio just says, I mean, that's fine though, right? That guy sucks. He tried to kill you. But Kimie says, yeah, but it still feels wrong to me. And she grabs the glasses that she has from Garo on her top. And so Ushio says, okay, I guess we better do something about it then. And so they burst into the scene, interrupting the fight, and Arashiyama goes flying through the air to attack Garo with kindness, because she realizes that he looked just like the stray hamster from her childhood. And she's like, I don't know if I can do like my brother did, but I've got to try. And she shoves Garo and Toshiro apart, or at least tries to, and says, look, you're also cool when you're going berserk and wrecking everyone, but what really draws me to you as a fan is how you fight for others with real conviction. And Garo is stunned by the appearance of a random fangirl, and in his bloodlust vision, he sees her as this kind of spectral entity, very faint and outliney, but in his eyes, not covered in filthy sludge. And he kind of like tries to shove her away, and Kimie then realizes like, oh, I mean, because she remembers the conversation she had with Ushio over like, hey, maybe you shouldn't just fangirl, maybe you should try and get him to see you as a real person and stuff. And so she has an awkward pause, calls out to Ushio for help. Ushio realizes that Arashiyama is currently devoid of bloodlust, and as a result, Garo doesn't know how to deal with that because he is responding exclusively to others' bloodlust instinctively. So she uses some of her water, sprays him directly in the face to get his attention, and says, hey, simmer down a second. And she holds out her hand to him and says, oh, you've let yourself be devoured by bloodlust? I suppose you're still an amateur yourself, Garo-sama. And that gets Garo's attention even more, and he starts to see her even more detail than he was seeing Arashiyama. Arashiyama takes out the glasses and tries to forcibly throw them onto Garo's face, which seems like a great way to get an arm poking you in the eye. Unfortunately, that does not happen. I winced every time that she went for this because I have had near misses with these glasses before. But she keeps on trying to get them onto Garo's face until eventually Ushio just grabs him from behind, pins his arms back with her own, and that holds him in place for Kimie to put the glasses onto his nose as she calls out to snap out of it. And then we get a 2-page spread of the two of them just kind of like group hugging Garo. And also Arashiyama's ham is helping to hug too, as he finally properly opens his eyes and kind of comes to. And as he does so, he thinks to himself, I was mistaken. The world's not just filled with human garbage. They're right here. Real, wonderful human beings. And everyone takes a nap or something. They're all acting like they're asleep. They're next to each other, and then Garo wakes up. That has some interesting implications. But Garo gets up and adjusts his glasses, and he says, "You guys saved me, didn't you?" And he gives them both a big smile and says, "Thank you." And Ushio and Arashiyama have a little moment to celebrate with each other, and then Arashiyama glomps onto Garo and is just really happy that he's back to normal. And now that everything's back to normal, Ushio goes back to being Sun, and Toshiro is upset that everyone is lovey-dovey, and he says that everything is a goddamn farce. And that is our chapter. Hooray! Garo is back to normal, and Ushio and Arashiyama did good things.
Yep. I believe, I don't know if it was Ninja or someone else in the Discord brought up the theory that maybe PK is Arashiyama's brother. And there might be something to that. But yeah, for all the Arashiyama fans, you probably are really happy with this chapter. So I'm happy for the 7 of those. Molder Man, rejoice.
I saw someone comment, I forget who it was in the Discord, say, Arashiyama, how come you get 2 girlfriends? After her bonding with Ushio in this arc too.
Yeah.
Yeah. But hey, good stuff, and Garo's back to normal, so I'm glad that his Skull Greymon moment didn't last too long.
Yep, absolutely. New Exorcist, Nick. It's everyone's favorite series.
Okay. Chapter 128, Soranaki's Island. So in the flashback, Nue has come across the aftermath of Soranaki's weird night with Gekka, where he turned her into this animal thing, and Nue demands to know like what happened to her, and Soranaki says like you know she's practically our daughter. We ate and slept under the same roof. We laughed and joked with each other, and now she's been degraded to this. Nue, how does that make you feel? Describe it to me. And Nue says, answer my question. And Soranaki just goes, I found nothing! You ask why I transformed Gekka? It's obvious! So that I can evolve! The Hyo are changeless, but you and I alone are different! We can take an interest in humans, interact with them, and change. We're the only 2 who can! But I couldn't feel a thing!
I don't think this mangaka knows how to make a character look cool when they have emotion. He just knows how to write dorky characters, and this dude's like, but I couldn't feel a thing! Even losing Gekka, someone who'd made me laugh!
Instead, I won't be able to move forward! And Nue looks at him and cries a single tear, because in this moment, she can only cry coolly. And then Soranaki makes a face because she's crying. What a face!
He does the fucking paw. Ooh! Like, what is this?
What? This is supposed to be a serious moment, right? Isn't it?
I have no idea.
And so he says, Nue, it can't be. Are you sad? Are you feeling sorrow over losing Gekka? Oh my God. And he realizes that this means that Nue is miles ahead of him. And so he demands that Nue show him the way. And he says, if I keep needling you, I believe it will give me a hint about how to change. So I'll do it. And Nue has like drawn her weapon. And Soranaki's like, no, you're still weak from the battle of Suzaku, so no, we're not going to fight today. Bye! Just leaves.
See ya!
So Gekka is in this bestial form, and she kind of nuzzles up against Nue's ankle. Nue apologizes to her and says, I'd grown too close to humans I hadn't even noticed. Every day was a dazzling, never-ending whirl of joy and sorrow, and it blinded me to the evil stealing closer to you. And of course, there's all the devastation and death that surrounds them because the village is destroyed and everyone else in it is fucking dead. And so she says, I'll take responsibility for this. I won't let anyone else die. Let's go, Gekka. I promise I'll change you back. And coming out of possibly the most serious flashback in the history of New Exorcist, we come back to the present where Nue has been drawing the entire thing very cartoonishly on a whiteboard in a way that gives no emotional weight to anything at all that has happened to it.
So the way we got it, basically.
And she sums it up by saying, later I sealed him and did this and that. What a great storyteller you are, Nue.
I like to think that's the way she told the whole story. She's like, there was this girl, and she was like, boyoing, and then she went, and then she's gone.
So, as a reminder, she has told this all to Gakuro, Natsuki, and Shitotsu, and nobody else. Why those three are the relevant members of this? I don't know. Well, maybe we'll find out. Maybe it doesn't matter at all. Maybe then later on something with Gekka will happen, and instead it'll be Suo who has an emotional interaction with her and not one of these three. Who knows with this fucking series? Natsuki notes that Soranaki is obsessed with Nue, and Nue says, yeah, he says he likes people, but they can never coexist. And so Gakuro's like, well, do you know how to change her back? And Nue says, no. All I know is that Soranaki does. And Gakuro says, I'll do it! I swear I'll get that information out of him! And she'll be the 12th member of my harem then!
The moment...
I'm not joking. Y'all know that's gonna happen.
I said this. I said it when they introduced her in the past. I was like, she's gonna be a part of this harem. I don't know how they're gonna do it, but they're gonna do it.
And apparently, she's just gonna get turned back from her dog form or something. That's it.
Now, here's the great question. Why does she fall in love with Gakuo? What stupid reason does she have to immediately fall head over heels? We've already done he looks like a manga character.
He's gonna fill her doggy dish just right. He's gonna give her just the right scratches behind her ear.
I think she's gonna find pathetic people hot. Like, she's gonna see him be a loser and be like, that's my thing.
It's going to turn out to be something that he did that it turns out she'll have been secretly watching the whole event of the series the whole time because she's actually been around the whole time. That way, you don't actually have to have him do anything. She'll just already be in love with him.
There you go.
Come on.
Perfect.
I mean, come on, they do that in this chapter. He already did the thing. Isn't that convenient that's why he's got this love interest? So Nue's like, all right, yeah, cool, thanks, do that. But Gakuro says, as Nue said that, I thought I heard her voice tremble slightly. Oh, wait, Nue is emotional over the first ever friend she made that she lost 1,000 years ago? What a revelation, Gakuro. Cool. You observant idiot. So, yeah, he says, oh, leave it to me. I will not cause Nue any more sorrow. And then he leaves. But Natsuki thinks to herself as they're leaving, Soranaki really did seem like an enigma. However, in the story, it did sound as if Gekka had moved his heart. So did he genuinely feel nothing? Ooh. All right. Now back to New Exorcist as we recognize it. Because Soranaki, who is currently taking the form of just some dude off the street, is allowed in the PA room to make this announcement to the whole school for the sports festival that is still happening, but not. So he says, oh, you guys whoop my ass in that festival, guys. I'm the guy who was in charge of the sports afternoon segment of the sports festival for some reason. And he introduced himself as Sora Anarchy Naki, which I will admit, that's actually a pretty good play on words. That's all right. Fair enough. Okay. Anyhoozle. So he says that since they all won, all of them are invited to an island off the coast of Kaguya called Shangri-La, where it's got awesome beaches and stuff and a hotel room that all of them get to use. That's got a high-end restaurant and spa. and the whole student body gets to go. Hooray! Gakuro, in phase 1 of his ultimate plan to force Soranaki to change Gekka back to normal, bursts into the office and goes over to Soranaki and says, "Change Gekka back."
Do it!
Do it!
Pussy! I bet you won't!
So, Soranaki says that he can't do anything at present, that the form of him that is currently there is just actually a clone of his main body, and he says, just go into the resort, because I'll resurrect there and regain my power. You kids get past the trials, find me, and Gekka will be restored automatically. Look at her. She's in this form that makes her look sexy for no reason. Look, there she is.
Well, normally when you're transformed into a hideous monster, the best way to interpret it is you're naked and bound up by, I guess, flesh ribbons, but are shiny for some reason. That's usually the way you symbolize that.
Everyone's at the beach now.
This was the wildest page turn where I'm just like, all right, yeah, sure, whatever, dog.
Yes, and so we will manage to restore Gekka if we complete all the trials. Woo! Beach!
Let's hit a watermelon!
So, Shiroha is hanging out with Gakuro while everyone else is running towards the water and stuff like that, and they're like, I guess we're going to fight Soranaki here. And then Shiroha mentions, like, hey, are you going to be okay for that? You know, you've got your swimsuit trauma and everything. And Gakuro is like, I don't have that anymore! Your swimsuit looks great! And she gets shy because he's actually, like, you know, kind of like looking at her kind of closely. And so Gakuro's like, oh, sorry. And some of the dudes are like, fuck you, Gakuro. How dare you? And then all the other love interests, I think two of these might be strangers.
I have no idea who half of these. I'm like, Suo, Shitotsu, don't know. The Haru Jaku or whatever her fucking name is, don't know and don't know.
So all the guys get upset with Gakuro until Nue pulls him into his side as well and is like, that volleyball flush of yours down, you know, needs to get cooled down a bit more. Okay. And so Gakuro's like, oh, I'm really worried about whether it was okay to bring everybody here to enemy territory. Well, then why didn't you do anything before everyone showed up here?
Don't worry, they're all dressed in the most powerful of items. Surely, as long as no one's top falls off, these women are very powerful.
And that would never happen to us.
We're here at the beach from We Never Learned. Like, oh no, Gakuro, don't you know?
I hope that nobody has to infiltrate a facility because that happens. Those bikini tops are not going to last. Nue says that she has an emergency evacuation plan ready or something like that. But then Gakuro's like, in that case, I'll protect everybody. But Nue is gone because some Machida has approached and she wants to talk to Gakuro. And Gakuro's like, oh, yeah, sure, you can sit with me. And then she's like, maybe I'll sit on your lap then. Oh, no, like that. I'm kidding. We kid. So, Machida teases him by bringing up the one thing we know about her character, which was that she took a swimming class with Gakuro and he thought she was drowning. And she brings that up and so she says, oh, is someone drowning? And he's like, no, although people who are practicing the backstroke sometimes look like they are. And Machida's like, haha, you remember that, huh? He was the one who was traumatized by it. Yes, he remembers. You know this. You were there in the beach episode where this was brought up. Talk like humans.
Don't worry, she's going to get right on that.
Yeah, she'll get right into that. Yeah, and then they just like talk the way that two people who know about an incident do about an incident that is in their shared history by reiterating and restating things that happened. And then she says, you know, at the time I couldn't say anything and I'm sorry about that. And Gakuro's like, oh. And then she says, you know, the thing is, I liked you back then too. Huh? Kidding. Except I'm not. Man.
But she said both parts out loud. So what?
I knew so little about Machida before this chapter I want to go back to those days because I've not found out good things about her in this chapter, which are that she's bad at talking.
This chapter continues the age-old tradition of new Exorcist, which is to just shove a girl, like another girl in front of you. And it's kind of like going to a restaurant and like they like drop bread off for the table and you have some, and you're like, okay, that bread wasn't great, but it was okay. And then like, the waitress comes by and she's like, oh, here's some croissants for the table. And you're like, I'm not, okay, thank you. No, not really. And like she comes back and she's like, "Oh, here are some baguettes." And I'm like, "Can I mean, I'm that's fine.
Can I
like
something
order?"
that's not bread?
They're
related,
like,
in a different form of appetizer.
Here you go. We're gonna give you some naan. And I'm like, no, that's still bread. You don't understand.
Like,
I love naan, but if I've already eaten ciabatta and focaccia and fucking dinner rolls, I've had enough bread, please. And that's
some Cheddar Bay biscuits.
Every time they're like, we got some pitas, and I'm like, is there anything in that pita? And they're like, bread. My God, I hate this. Stop this.
We brought you pizza, but just the crust.
We wanted to try something deconstructed. It's toast, but it's never been heated. And I'm like, so just bread?
No. Never been heated, as in never baked, too.
Oh my God. I don't, they keep shoving new girls in front of me. And I'm like, look, I guess the people who love this series go crazy for this, but I can't, every time they do it, I'm like, I don't care. You have like 12 girls in this series and I don't like most of them. Stop putting new ones in front of me.
The thing is, Quinn, Machida's not a new girl. Because I quickly reread New Sexist in order to figure out which was the worst Gakuro moment of last year. And in doing that, I read through all of his festival dates. And there is a particular moment, because Machida is one of the 6 girls that he goes with, that he has a date with. And someone observes, she's a real dark horse contender here. And if you're going to pretend that, then you have to do something like this at some point. So it's better that this happened with her and not another new girl that we had never met before.
Sure.
But only just.
Yeah, I'm glad a sports festival girl, the third princess of whatever school they go to, didn't have to show up to add more drama.
She seems to have been forgotten, and I'm in favor of that.
Sure. I can't wait for little Kyoko to show back up, and she's like, hey guys, remember me and my thighs?
My God. Remember I was the one with the guitar?
Remember?
Everyone went nuts for me.
They called me Short Stack. It was great.
Yes, this chapter was garbage, and I, for one, welcome New Sections as being garbage again. Hooray.
Indeed.
Akane-banashi! Story 189, The Flavor of God of Death. Akane is doing her opening performance for Shomei. And Rokuro is observing her from the sidelines as Akane is, she's doing the sight outside of sight thing in this performance as well, but it comes a lot more easily to her. She just kind of just does it instead of it being a big thing. Gets a nice reaction. Afterwards, she's like, yeah, I'm doing it. I'm actually getting a good grasp on using this now.
I love the idea because the way the sight is portrayed is her telling a fart joke. And I really love the idea of like pulling out this traumatic skill honed over like basically working yourself to death. And it's just there to be like,
if you use up too much of your meat, it starts eating into your health bar. And it's like, oh, what a good delivered fart joke, though. It was worth it. Rokuro observes this and then afterwards, hey, it's time for Shomei's performance. It's time for them to actually sit back and learn. And so Shomei sits down and we get a little bit of it paired with his explanation to them of like, hey, I'm going to perform. What I'm performing for you is a pair with Master Shigemo's specialty. So he starts to launch into it. It brings up how things go in and out of fashion, not just in human affairs, but also with gods, because some gods are beloved, some are hated. Gods of pestilence, poverty, smallpox, even gods of death. These are gods unwelcome among mortal men. And he takes off his outer Hawari, and as he goes into his spiel, which begins with a man getting in an argument with his wife and being a god of death because he's thinking of hanging himself. The man is much more silly in how self-pitying he is. It's not gloomy and oppressive the way that Shigema's performance is. And Akane is watching this and is like, this is like a really lighthearted performance. There's no tension in the audience at all. But as it progresses, we see the god of death appear. And what I really like about this is panel layout is very similar to when we saw with Shigema in terms of like how off-center the god is. But because the god is more prominent and also like more human looking, it's way less off-putting to see. Mm-hmm. And it's a very different appearing god of death as well. This is just like a skeleton that's got some hair, basically. And of course, we are reminded of what the story is, which is that the man is taught how to banish gods of death, and he becomes a wealthy doctor as a result of it, but he violates the god of death's lesson, which is to not interfere with a god of death by standing by the head. And so the god of death scolds the man for doing this and then says, thanks to you, I'm going to lose out on some of my yearly bonus. And so all that stuff happened, and it's like, oh, this is a very lighthearted version of this story. The tone is completely different, even though the structure of the story is different, and everyone just having a pleasant, fun time with the sunny version of God of Death. So afterwards, Shomei meets with Akane and Rokuro, and he explains this is the specialty of Master Shigema and the previous Shomei, but with opposite qualities. So it's impossible to decide which route to follow. Would that be an accurate assessment? And Akane and Rokuro kind of exchange a look and are like, yeah, basically. And so Shomei says, this is, to put it simply, the flavor of God of Death. There is a wide variety of adaptations based on this story. There's horror, comedy, tragedy. It is a one-of-a-kind Rakugo story that has as many faces as it does performers. That is what God of Death is. And so Rokuro realizes you could tell it any which way, so your focus to the approach is crucial. Shomei says, if you dedicate yourself solely to the story, as you, Akane, did in the Zuyun Prize, you will not grasp the true core of God of Death. And that is why it is a true oneta, the kind of story that a Shinichi performs. But Akane is not put off by this warning. She's really excited. She's like, this is the kind of opponent that I need. This is the kind of challenge that I need at this time. And Shomei says, you've got the right spirit. Now let us depart on a journey to gaze into death.
Yeah. So I do like that we are establishing that there are just different ways to tell the God of Death storyline. Because there was a part of me that was kind of curious how we were going to make a big moment out of Akane telling it, when it was like, well, Shigema already kind of did an amazing version. I don't really know how you change that. So the idea of shifting it slightly, changing its tone, really does add quite a lot to it. And I do kind of like just how Shomei just kind of goes through it. Like, look, there's a lot of different ways you could tell this. That is what this is. As many faces as there are Rakugoka performing this story. And I do also just love the goofy, silly version of the God of Death story. Like, the last one was so serious.
You can't do that! Come on!
Yeah, like, there was like a slight moment when I saw the skeleton start making jokes. I was like, but it's the God of Death! You can't be silly during it! And then I was like, well, it's Shomei, so of course he can't. He can't do wrong. So, yeah, I liked it. It was funny stuff.
Yeah, and this is interesting as well because, like, this is very counter to the way that Akane's current school really kind of like teaches things, which is just like, no, there's one way you fucking do it right.
Yeah.
I do it the best way, me, Ishok. So I think that this is going to kind of like be a lead up into like what the disagreement between the two schools is. This is starting to make a clear picture of what the root of the disagreement is, artistically speaking, culturally speaking.
I also wonder, because we, very firmly established he's going to do this story 3 times, if he's going to change the tone or do anything every time he does it, or add a new wrinkle or something.
All right.
All right, let's wrap up this week, Nick, with One Piece chapter 1170. Contrary, cute little cover page of all the Straw Hats as kids, but like Robin's still the oldest of the kids. It's very adorable. I assume Frankie built the giant water slide they went to, and that's why he's not there.
Aw.
Nick, we're still in the flashback, and we can't make a joke about rocks because that is this story.
He's already dead in this one. Yeah.
So Loki had to dodge a flying hammer, and he's like, "Hey, who threw this hammer at me? They must be in here." And he goes to grab it to see the chest when the ground by him starts to crack and buckle under the weight of the hammer. And he's like, "This is bullshit. There's no way that hammer's that heavy." And the hammer, the ground starts falling apart. He basically kind of manages to keep himself from falling down.
He like Legolas dashes up the collapsing rubble.
Yeah. Cut over to Harold, who is basically like, you're wasting your time, Loki. That fruit is a national treasure, and it's not because no one has chosen to eat it. It's because no one could. There's a map
on the back of the Declaration of Independence.
Yeah. Not a single one of them was chosen by Ragnir. And he just kind of notes, he's like, with the strength I now possess, oh, shit, my leg.
Ow.
Shanks and Gabon come up, and they just cut straight through his leg. And Gabon just kind of notes, like, okay, so basically, if we hit him with enough of these attacks, we can kind of knock him out of commission, because if we use Color Supreme Hockey, it is super effective against these guys. And there is a moment where Shanks is like, how do you know their weaknesses? And he's like, because they kept coming to our crew to try to take you, so we had to keep whooping their ass and sending them away, which is a very funny detail to add. Also, it makes me think maybe at some point, because these characters, are all reflections of our current cast, maybe Sanji will get his own Conqueror's Hockey at some point if Gabon had it, Nick. If Gabon has it.
I don't know.
Who knows? There's so many things, I guess, still up in the air. And there is also a thing where Shanks kind of notes, he's like, man, yeah, they didn't, like, those guys really never come into our world. They really believe they're gods. It makes me kind of shiver to think what would have happened if that had been the life I lived. And Gabon's just like, we call that fate. And they just kind of know that they really kind of want to save Harold in some way, and are like, yeah, you can't really do that. Cut over to Loki, who swings his hammer at the other hammer. He's like, what's your deal? Just give it a rest. He smacks it, and what's up, bud? Okay, I don't know why Professor Peanuts took that moment to be like, hey, what's going on?
He really liked that hammer.
He really did. Loki's hammer is destroyed. The other hammer goes bouncing and then slowly turns into a very angry squirrel. I assume that's Ragnir, but I believe this is also meant to be an interpretation of Radagaskar? Is that the name of the fucking squirrel from the World Tree?
Oh, right. The one that they put into God of War, right?
Yeah, the one they also made a magic card out of when they went to a Nordic plane. And I think was in Smite, but I stopped playing by that point. They like, hey, this guy's really strong. He's got Supreme King Hockey because we're back in the fight. Things aren't looking supremely good, but it seems that squirrel was won over by the efforts of Loki there, and has given him permission to eat the devil fruit. And we see Loki eat it, and he starts to transform, and he makes out like a terrifying cry of "wow!" And the squirrel is very happy. It jumps in the air and goes "Kiddy-dee-dee-dee-dee-dee-dee." So, real happy for that squirrel. And we see in a very chopped up panel-heavy 2-page spread, Harold noting that Loki has eaten the devil fruit and says, "Hey, show me that power." And we don't really see what Loki does. We just see like a claw mark chunk taken out of Harold at this point.
He beats his ass.
Yeah. And Harold just is like, "I knew it. You possess the blood of the Supreme King." And Loki's like, "Wait, you're back to your senses now?" And he's like, "Nope, just for a moment. Don't be mistaken.
No, I'm just, no.
Not what I've done cannot be undone." And he's like, "But you're being controlled." And he's like, "Yes, but I'm beginning to think of myself as a god. Like, what is happening to me is slowly infecting my thoughts. So I need you to do an admirable job of pulling Elbaf together in your wake." And, Loki starts saying like, "You're a piece of shit, right? Making your own son end your life like this. Like, this is a screwed up thing." And Harold, is reading the message behind the words and is like, "Oh, and, thank you for..." It's actually kind of an odd thing. He's like, "Thank you for blowing up that village in honor of Ida. Like, I don't support that, I guess, but I'm grateful you felt that strongly." And Harold, or Loki's like, "I'll never forgive you." And Harold says, "I love you too, son." And just as the hammer is about to strike, lightning strikes the castle and the blow. And Loki, with tears, screams out. And we just see the Herald's thoughts basically about Loki, my son. All that matters is Elbath's future.
Yeah, it's a very cool 2-page spread with the blow that strikes there.
Yeah.
I like the hints that we get of just how insanely strong Loki is and what weirdness his powers are. Because in this one chapter alone, we go like, yeah, he's got Supreme King, he's got a transforming hammer, he's got devil fruit powers. Like, Jesus Christ.
Like, this guy's getting too many things. All right, calm down.
But yeah. Please, just one more flashback chapter, and that's it. Please, we've reached the end, right?
Yeah, I will say this has probably been the best flashback chapter in a while. I actually did feel the emotion in this one a little bit, just because Harold and Loki are two characters we followed throughout this. It probably would have been more effective again without that little bit in the middle. But like, yeah, it's like a cool fight and back and forth they have. It's really, really cool and satisfying.
Okay, we have reached the end of this week's manga, Quinn. Do you have a favorite chapter this week?
Great question. And I'm thinking back through everything we read. You know what?
I'm cycling through myself, yeah.
I think I'm going to give it to Spy Family. I'm thinking of all the chapters I enjoyed this week, and I got like a real satisfaction out of seeing all the kids get their Stella Stars, and then like the 1-2 punch of being like, they forgot George! They remembered George!
I think I'm going to say Marriagetoxin for me.
Okay.
Just a nice emotional reunion, and hooray, Garo back to normal. It's just a feel-good chapter that's got some nice individual panels in it.
Yeah, I guess my character of the week's probably going to be Loki. As you said, he got a lot of upgrades this week. They're like, here's your cool hammer, here's your Supreme King Hockey, here's your like probably mythical Zoan Devil Fruit, I don't know, your Thor Devil Fruit or whatever the fuck you have.
Yeah, I think I'm going to have to agree with you. Just to like doing a brief once over. I don't think anyone else really stands out to me in a super positive way. So I think I'm going to agree with that assessment. Yeah.
Gotcha. The audience picked Ichi the Witch as their chapter of the week and Arashiyama from Marriagetoxin as their character of the week.
Yeah. All right. Well, everyone, thank you for joining us for Weekly Manga Recap. We will be back next week. I believe we're planning to record Friday at this time.
Yeah, to give a heads up to everybody, I'm starting in my new school semester, and for the foreseeable future of this, I do have a class that runs Wednesday nights until like 8 p.m. So it's just going to be not really possible for us to keep doing the show on Wednesday nights for right now. So we'll probably be moving it, but we don't know the exact date. As of right now, I think we're going to try for Friday of next week. Though is this a week without chapters?
I do not know. We might escape the difficulty then. Let's see here. One Piece. Well, you can never judge it off of One Piece. What am I thinking?
Ninja saying it is that this is a week without chapters, I believe.
Okay. Well, maybe that works out then. But all right. Yeah. Well, it's up in the air. So to stay updated on exactly what's going on, I recommend joining our Discord server and following us on social media. The Discord will be linked wherever this is posted to. And we are on BlueSky, Rolo T, Nick F. Time, and Weekly Manga Recap. Also follow WMR Votes for whenever there is a week that does have chapters so that you can participate in the MVP and favorite chapter voting and get to influence the audience results of those. We have audio episodes on weeklymangarecap.podbean.com. They are also cross-posted on iTunes and Spotify, anything that has like a podcast RSS feed, basically. Video versions available on youtube.com/weeklymangarecap, which occasionally features title cards by Steve Man. Check out his work by searching for Steve Man Art, and there he's in all sorts of different places. And our opening sequence is by Milo Jack Stillitz and Bree Cheddar. And yeah, thank you guys for helping to make the show what it is. Shout out to Ninja X3i for helping to coordinate the votes and everything and help us to keep track of stuff so that we don't forget about it because we have bad memories. As said before, our Discord server is linked wherever this is posted to. There are conversations wherever chapters get posted, stuff about the recommendation as we work on it, and all sorts of other fun things. And we have a Patreon for bonus episodes if you want more Weekly Manga Recap content and to financially support the show. That's patreon.com/Weekly Manga Recap.
Yep. By the way, the audience have in our Discord have posted Professor Peanuts is behind me this week, and a lot of people have just been posting it, and it's very funny because I'm looking at pictures of my own cat and be like, oh my gosh, and I'm like, he's right behind me. I can just turn around and see him. I can just pick him up right now and start kissing him. No one could stop me. I mean, he'll stop me. He'll go nuts, but really, no one could stop me from enjoying this cat.
I'm just going to look at pictures of my cat on my phone, too.
You should. Honestly, it's a great way to spend your time. Just look at pictures of your own cat. Oh. Move a little closer to the camera.
Yeah.
Oh, he's so small.
He's gotten a lot bigger, but he's still only 6 pounds. So.
Oh, my gosh. A baby.
Yeah. All right. I think that's got to do it for Weekly Manga Recap, guys. Thank you all for joining us. We'll see you next time, whenever that may be.
Right. Bye.